on Twitter, yeah, which is where I get all my factual boxing information, bruv. Yeah. A lot of mad people on there as well, bruv. Big mad thing, yeah. A lot of mad people on there on boxing Twitter, bruv. Big mad thing, yeah. But I saw a lot of people saying that should this fight with Tyson Fury not happen, then you could have a potential match with Usyk versus Dubois, which is a bit mad to me because I feel like I like Dubois, but I feel like he ends up getting in these mad matches, which is a great opportunity. But I feel like almost like he shouldn't be having these fights because it's kind of mad for him. I don't feel like he's ready for these fights. Like the Joe Joyce fight, it was mad, and that last fight that he had, I feel like he got boxed and broke his ankle or something. It just looked, I don't know. I just feel like against Usyk right now, it's a bit early for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of trains of thought really. One of the trains of thought is what you've just said there about Dubois not necessarily being ready for somebody like Oleksandr Usyk. But another one is, his last fight, he came very, very close to losing that fight. And he's got the position where he can fight for a lot of money, 3 heavyweight title belts. Okay, he's a significant underdog in a fight. There's no two ways about it. But he's the naturally bigger man. He can punch. If he lands a shot, he could certainly hurt Usyk.
So you're sort of saying like now or never kind of thing?
Not necessarily now or never, but let's say he fights a Marius Vac or somebody like that, or somebody like Kevin Lerena, like he boxed last time. That kind of fringe top 25 sort of level. You get beat for 10% of the money, and you lose your position. He's got the WBA regular belt, but you lose that, and then what? Then you have to really rebuild. I hate to use the term, you throw him in against Oleksandr Usyk, he does better than maybe people expect him to do, then he doesn't really lose anything. Okay, he loses his position, but he gets paid very well. He's boxed, you would think he would learn a lot from that fight. And if he gives a better than expected performance, his stock doesn't necessarily go down. So there's a couple of different trains of thoughts with Dubois, but I think the big one for me is whether or not he'll be ready. Will he be ready in time if Fury Usyk doesn't happen? If not, it could be a case of seeing Oleksandr Usyk versus Filip Hrgovic, who's the IBF mandatory.
That's what I was just about to ask you also. I was going to say, I saw his name also mentioned, and he's quite, I remember you kind of give him a lot of praise as well, saying that he's someone to look out for.
Yeah,
But even for him, I feel like that's quite...
I really liked Hrgovic.
At the same time.
I really liked Hrgovic when... sorry, we're expecting Dan Aziz shortly, so I keep checking my phone.
Big man thing.
Hrgovic, I felt, started his professional career very well. He was a good amateur. Got bronze medal in the Olympics. Was unfortunate to not, go one better than that. But I feel like in recent times, and again, it's sort of like similar-ish to Daniel Dubois, really, where he's got to a point where he's been well-ranked and nobody's really wanted to fight him, and rather than risk losing his position in the IBF or losing his position to potentially fight for a world title, he's kind of stagnated and he's not boxed a good level of opposition. I mean, some of the opponents they've had for Filip Hrgovic in recent years are really, really bad. I mean, he was boxing people who were better than who he's been boxing in recent years in like his 3rd or 4th fight. He boxed a guy called Amir Mansour, who's a good fighter, like capable, and he boxed him in his first few fights. Boxed Tom Little, okay, not a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but to box him after 2 or 3 fights. And then after that, you're boxing these if I've never heard of them, there must be quite obscure guys, particularly for a guy like Hrgovic, who's highly touted, and I was very high on him for a while. But I feel like my big concern with Hrgovic was always that he wasn't going to develop and wasn't going to progress as a fighter. If you don't get the fights to stimulate you as a fighter, then you go backwards. And I feel like the Zhilei Zhang fight, which was on the Usyk-Joshua 2 card, we kind of saw that. We saw a guy who was in a real fight for the first time, really, since he was in the amateurs. And Zhilei Zhang came out and he's a dangerous man.
100%.
Like that fight with Joe Joyce could be a real good fight. Like really 100%.
Good fight. That's one to look out for.
First 3 or 4 rounds, he's as dangerous as they come. And Hrgovic, who had been fighting people who were way beneath his level for however long now, kind of went out, got hurt and put down in the first round, got hurt a couple more times in the first 4 rounds, and all of a sudden he's 3-4 rounds down. He's been knocked down. He's in a difficult position. So I like Hrgovic. I just don't feel like he's developed as he could have. I feel like the promise that he showed early in his career hasn't really been fulfilled yet. But you never know. He may have learned something in the last fight against Zhilei Zhang, got better sparring in. But Usyk Hrgovic, Usyk Dubois, you'd make Usyk a big, big favourite in both of those fights.